Yeet. We're going live. This is SportsBit. Betting Insight today. My name is Drew Martin. This is Teddy Covers. We're doing a little bit of an abbreviated show today. It's obviously live from down here in Costa Rica at the SBR office. And we got a couple staples of the show viewers love, so we can't ignore. Got to get right into it. A quick recap of bad beats, bad bets, bad results for the books from Sunday. So let's get into it.
Oh, yeah, there was a really tough beat yesterday, man. If you had the Cincinnati Reds from playing some good baseball, they're up 7-3 in the bottom of the eighth. And a guy we've loved on SportsBit, Raisel Iglesias, who's been, we talk about him as an all-star. Oh, my God, no one's paying any attention to this guy. Well, the wheels came off yesterday for Iglesias. Couldn't find the strike zone. 3 of the 6 batters he faced were walked, and they all came around to score when Corey Seager hit the game-winning grand slam. Tough beat for Cincy backers. Good news if you had LA.
Bad for the books. New York Yankees minus 150 to minus 175 yesterday. Sunday versus the Orioles. Bad weekend in this series for the books. New York Yankees money the whole weekend. And you won't believe this graphic because there isn't a graphic.
We're live. There's no graphics.
Yankees, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We had a 40-cent move on Friday. We got a 70-cent move on Saturday and a 20-cent move on Sunday. Teddy, that one hurts the books.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the books got destroyed on all 3 of those games. And, you know, we talk about 40-cent moves and 75-cent moves and then another 25 on Sunday, and all that money cashes. The books are going to have to rethink how they're pricing Baltimore and the Yankees. But the Orioles starters for the weekend. Look at the oh, we don't have graphics. So we'll have them tomorrow when we do our abbreviated version of SportsBit. But for today, unfortunately, we don't. But look, for the weekend, the Orioles starters, 10.2 innings of work, 19 runs allowed. That's not getting the job done, and that's why the books took a beating with Yankees-Orioles all weekend long.
Yeah, and Aaron Judge, home run. Oh, just short of 500 feet, 496, longest since modern tracking began in 2009. It looks like he's just higher than 3 Giancarlo Stanton shots. So that was an interesting one there. We also got Cubs, minus 175 to minus 225 versus the Rocks. They won 7-5. We'll be talking about the Cubs' struggles later on in the show.
But, I mean, Ben Zobrist, 2 hits, including a home run yesterday, drove in 3 runs, and even with that, he's still hitting 228. The Cubs got the win. The books took a beating on this game, a 50-cent move, but this is a Chicago Cubs team that's still playing 500 baseball in June. As you mentioned, we'll talk about them in just a few minutes.
Yeah, one more bad result for the books from yesterday. Penguins, plus 125 on the ice to even money. They won 2-0.
Yeah, I mean, really, the odds makers, the books, didn't expect the public to start bucking that home team trend, you know, where the home team had won every single game of the first 5 in the NHL finals. Well, the bettors did all of a sudden start bucking the home team trend, and the books took a beating. Lots of Penguins money. Hornquist with the game winner. Pittsburgh wins the Stanley Cup.
On to the big game. Big game breakdown. Cavs Warriors, 8.5, 230.5 the total, 137 points, most ever scored by a team facing elimination, 86 points. Most ever in the first half. That was a crazy first half to watch, Teddy.
Well, I mean, what did Cleveland do? They did something that they hadn't been able to do in any of the first 3 games of the series, and not just make shots. We'll talk about that in a minute. They didn't turn the ball over. So when you're making shots and not turning the ball over, guess what? The other team can't get out and run. And when it comes to fast break points, again, we got a great graphic, but I can't use it. Game 1, a Warrior scored 26 fast break points. Game 2, they scored 33. Game 3, they score 40 fast break points. Game 4, 7. You know, that's not enough. And, of course, when the Cavs go 24 or 45 from three-point range, that can happen. And, of course, you know, we're talking about Kyrie Irving. You want to read that Irving quote, or you want me to do it?
Hey, we finally settled in, man. It was about damn time for all of us just to really see what playing well as a group looks like. Against a great team like the Warriors, we understand who they have on their team, what they're about, and how established they are. But I think that in those 3 losses, we lost track of who we were. We're still a special team as well. We are here for a reason. We're going against a juggernaut of a team, but we're a juggernaut of a team too.
And there's, I mean, that's certainly a positive quote from the Cavs. But you want to ask, how much was good offense from Cleveland? A lot. How much was bad defense from Golden State? A fair bit, and certainly not the Warriors' best defensive game. But how much was the officiating? How much did that come into play? I think it came into play a ton. In the first quarter alone, the Cavs got to the line for 22 free throw attempts. With just under 2 minutes left in the first quarter, you had Curry, Green, Thompson, Iggy, all sitting on the bench with 2 fouls each. The Warriors whistled for 12 fouls and a technical in the first quarter. And what happens when you got all these guys that are dealing with foul trouble? You don't play defense the same way. Here's a quote from Draymond Green that makes it very clear. Quote, when we're tied up, what can we do? When we got guys like Steph, Clay, me, KD, picking up 2-3 fouls in a hurry, it's tough to bring the physicality. How can we play physical with some of the stuff going on out there tonight? Give credit to Kyrie and LeBron. They played like stars. They played like the stars that they are. Those guys wanted it. But there was more going on out there. If we wanted to play more physical, how could we? I don't expect the officiating to be quite as rough on Golden State in Game 5, but it could be. I almost called you Pauly.
What's the over-under? 3.5. You taking over or under?
Well, see, this isn't a full show. It's an abbreviated show, so I got to take under 3.5. For a full show, I'll probably call you Pauly 8 times.
Yeah. Alternative line of 1.5.
Well, I've already done one. I'm definitely taking over.
All right, man. Well, yeah, the officiating in the NBA Finals, it's always going to be controversial, Teddy. So that's a tough one. But after 2 days off, another point here. LeBron should be able to play deep into the game, which he has to. I mean, the last 2 games with LeBron in, they're plus 39. With him out in only just over 9 minutes, minus 23.
Yeah, that's insane. Could you think about it? When you're talking about being a minus 23 in 9.5 minutes, as LeBron's been on the floor in the 2 games in Cleveland, that's the equivalent of losing a full game by 114.8 points. So it's not like the Cavs have been bad without LeBron. They've been hopeless without LeBron. I don't know that he leaves the floor tonight. And that extra day's rest can only help Cleveland in that regard, because it's really fascinating. When you look at the plus minus for the series, Drew, the Cavs are going to show an advantage when LeBron's been on the floor. Even though Cavs are down 3-1 in the series, they've been outscored by margin. When LeBron is on the floor, they're plus 1.1 for the series. And when every other Cleveland starter on the floor, with Love, they're minus 8. With Irving, they're minus 11. With J.R. Smith, they're minus 11.2. With Thompson, they're minus 12.9. It's LeBron who has been the only guy for Cleveland among the starters who's been positive in the plus-minus category, which means that Ty Lue's got to be real careful about putting LeBron on the bench tonight, if he puts him on the bench at all.
All right, Teddy. Big game breakdown on the diamond. Cubs Mets. Lackey versus DeGrom. Minus 140, 8.5 total. Early money showing on the Mets and the over.
Let's have fun. Let's call this a concept. What are we going to call it? Let's call it, how much would you have lost if? All right. Let's start with this.
Let's do it.
And because the concept is, it's going to help keep results in perspective. When things go weird, when you lose money on a bet that you probably shouldn't have lost, think about what these potential bets and how much you might have made or might have bet had you had the opportunity. For example, let's just say, how much would you have bet if someone offered you Golden State plus 20.5 in game number 4? Exactly. How about the Orioles plus 29.5 runs for the full series?
I would have lost even more.
Exactly. So here we have, it is now June 12th. Okay. How much would you have lost if you could have bet before the season that neither the Mets nor the Cubs, neither team, would have a winning record when they met on June 12th?
I would have lost a good amount of money today.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, it's a situation where both of these teams have been enormous underachievers so far, and they will continue to do so.
Yeah, and when you look at it, only Jason Hayward, as a position player for the Cubs, is performing better than he did last year. So it's very obvious of what is wrong with the Cubs. They're just not performing anywhere near last year. Even at 31-31, Cubs still only 1 game out of the NL Central. It's just, they got John Lackey going tonight, solid 11-8, 3.35 last year. Now he's 4-6, a 5.12 ERA. Those numbers are real. His FIP's over 5. So with Lackey, 38 years of age, just off of just under 800 regular season innings the last 4 seasons. Not much in the tank. Not sure if I'm looking to back Lackey in this situation.
No, I mean, the Cubs are mediocre in so many different ways this season, and it's not just the lineup. The starting pitching isn't close to what it was last year, and Lackey certainly example number one. A guy who was rock solid last year, who right now, only one thing I want to do with John Lackey, that's bet against him every opportunity. He's not the same pitcher, and as you mentioned, almost 800 innings over the last 4 years for a 38-year-old guy. There's clearly been a long-term effect. Now, for the Mets, there's only one guy who stayed healthy all year. That's Jacob deGrom. But the numbers on deGrom have dropped off enormously. 3.04 ERA last year to 4.75 this year. And I think some of that might be Terry Collins' fault. 3 starts back, Collins left deGrom out there until the bottom of the 9th at Pittsburgh. They had an 8-1 lead in that game. He's like, well, I'll go out there to see if we can get their complete game. You know, they finally pulled him with 1 out in the 9th after 118 pitches. What's happened the last 2 starts since he was stretched out to 118 pitches? Bombed, absolutely bombed. 8 innings pitched, 15 runs, 18 hits, 4 home runs. You wonder if that's a result of being overworked in that Pirates game.
Yeah, I mean, up 8-1, it was pretty ridiculous to leave him out there like that. And Collins, a quote here, last year when he had the elbow issue is probably the only time he's really had to dig deep and figure out what's wrong. And we found the cause. But right now, we've got to come up with an answer.
Yeah, and I mean, there is a couple of pluses here for deGrom. He only threw 69 pitches before getting pulled at Texas in his last start. And he's had 5 full days off between his last 2 starts. So if there's ever a start that Jacob deGrom is supposed to be fresh for, it's supposed to be tonight, which, of course, has to lead us into Play of the Day time here on Sportsbet. Play of the Day, we had a winner Friday with the Game 4 over the total. And we've seen Mets money today. I agree with that. With the Mets money, this is a bounce back spot for deGrom. And I want no part of the Cubs. I want no part of John Lackey. Let's take the Mets minus 140, a Sportsbet Play of the Day.
Mets minus 140. Thanks for tuning in to Sportsbet today, live from Costa Rica. We'll be back tomorrow afternoon. For Teddy Covers, I'm Drew Martin.